Okay, boys and girls, now we're going to be looking in our drama. We're going to be looking in our drama for some literary elements or elements of drama. So I want you to turn to page 312, 313. Please be on 312, 313. Is everyone on that page? Yeah. Okay, well, let's all get on 312, 313. Excuse me, are you on those pages? Thank you. Let's do that quietly. We don't need to talk while we do that. So here's what we need to do. It says literary elements are the pieces that make up a story. The main literary elements in a story are the characters, the setting, the plot, which includes the conflict and resolution, and the events. Remember, the conflict is the problem. The resolution is how the problem is solved. Answer the question about pages 312, 313 of the Saga of Pecos Bill. So let's listen to that.
Pecos Bill. Well, I reckon I can help with that. Narrator 2. And with that, Bill just swung his rattlesnake lasso round and round, and he roped up all the water from the Rio Grande River. After that, there was no more problem with any drought. Narrator 3. Seems like there was nothing that Bill couldn't do. Like that time when the biggest and meanest tornado that ever was came into Texas. Bill decided that the only way to tame that tornado was to ride it until it spun itself out. Narrator 4. So Bill just waited until that tornado came up and over the state line with Oklahoma. It slowed down a little as it crossed into Texas, and that's when Bill just up and jumped on that tornado's back. Narrator 1. Now, that tornado didn't like anybody riding its back. It turned itself from green to brown to black and began to leaping around like it was full of about 100 wildcats. That tornado whipped and whipped and whirled some more, just trying to throw Bill off its back. Pecos Bill. Yahweh! Hold on tight. I aim to tame you, seeing as how I'm the toughest cowboy in these here parts. You ain't about to throw me. No, sir. Whirled. If something whirled, it spun and turned very quickly. Tame. If you tame a wild animal, you teach it to do what you want. Narrator 2. Well, that tornado started to do all kinds of mean things as it spun faster and faster. It humped its back, it threw itself all about, it jumped up and it jumped down, trying to toss Bill back onto the ground. It just got meaner and meaner every way it twisted and turned. Narrator 3. In fact, it got to be so mean and so ornery that it tied up rivers into knots and emptied lakes of all their water. Why, Bill and that twister went from one end of Texas to the other. The twister was twisting and Bill was hanging on for dear life. But try as it might, that twister could never throw Bill. No way. Bill just rode that tornado like it was the meanest bull at a rodeo. He jabbed it with his spurs and wrapped his arms tighter and tighter around that spinning tornado. Narrator 4. Finally, that tornado figured it wasn't going to get Bill off its back. So it headed itself out to California and just rained itself out. Seems it rained so much water that it washed out the Grand Canyon. Why, that mean old tornado was worn down to nothing. And by the time they both reached the Pacific Ocean, that tornado was nothing but a little bitty puff of wind.
Okay, so boys and girls, we're going to talk about what we just read. So let's look at the questions we have to answer here. What conflict does Pecosville have to deal with in this scene? What is the issue here? What's the conflict? What is the conflict he has? Does he have a problem? Teddy?
You can't stop the tornado from destroying Texas.
Yeah, he has to tame the tornado. So let's write that down. He has to tame the tornado. And so how do Bill's actions with the tornado lead to other events? So how does his actions with the tornado lead to other events? What things happen? Avery?
They went all the way to California.
Yeah, so what happens in between that? Yes.
The tornado washes out the Grand Canyon.
It does. It washes out the Grand Canyon. What happens before that, Juliana?
It takes up all of Texas's water.
Yeah, it takes up all of Texas's, it ties up the rivers and empties the lakes. So those are the things that happen. It washes out the Grand Canyon and he tames the tornado. So let's say the tornado tornado ties up the rivers, right? Ties up the rivers. And empties the lakes. And then the tornado washes out the Grand Canyon. So do you think that's how the Grand Canyon was formed from Pecosville? Is that how they made the Grand Canyon?
No.
It's a tall tale. It's a tall tale. So a tall tale is remember we read at the beginning that tall tales are just like exaggerated stories. So they were made to entertain and to explain things. So they're not real. Okay, so let's think about this, Mikey. It says, how does the resolution to this conflict, this is what happened here, fit with the playwright's purpose in writing this play?
So the author's purpose is to write
So why do you think the author wrote this play?
to entertain people and to teach them about what Texas, like, folktales, like a folktale from Texas is.
Okay, do you think they wanted to show us anything about, maybe to show us how amazing Pecosville was? So that could have been something, right? Wanted to tell us that. And to show, to show us about probably a lot of different things, correct? So the tornado What did the tornado do? Yes.
It destroyed Texas.
And it gave up and left Texas, right?
Yeah.
So it gave up, left Texas, and then it created, yes?
A puff of wind.
It gave, well, what did it create?
Like,
What did it say it created? What's the place it created? I don't know if anybody has been there. Yes?
the Grand Canyon.
Not in California.
The California is the Death Valley.
Death Valley in California, which is like a big desert area. So it did that. And so this fits with, so the author wants to tell us, is telling us how amazing Pecos Bill was. So that's one of the reasons that the author, or the playwright wrote the story, is to tell us how awesome Pecos Bill was, and to give us a tall tale explanation for Death Valley. So those are the many reasons that we have this story. So that's what the author did. So let's say the tornado gives up and leaves Texas. And leaves Texas. And creates so the author wants to entertain us with how amazing Pecos Bill is, or was, I guess, Pecos Bill was. And to tell us a tall tale. There we go, and to tell us a fun